Hello children, welcome back to 10th standard biology class. In the last class we have studied about double circulation in human beings and we have also discussed about transportation of water and minerals in plants. Before coming to the topic, in the last class I wanted to discuss about blood pressure that I mostly skipped it. Let us have more about what is meant by blood pressure and how it is measured. Just few information I want to give about blood pressure. And I discussed about pressure in the arteries is more. When the blood flows in the arteries, the pressure of blood will be more, I said. So that when the blood flows in the blood vessels, it exerts a force on the wall of the blood vessel. This pressure will be more in the arteries. So this pressure in the artery during ventricular systole means contraction is called systolic pressure, and the pressure in the pressure of blood in the artery during ventricular diastole in the sense relaxation is called diastolic pressure. Everyone has blood pressure. You may wonder, what is this teacher is telling? Blood pressure is there for all. This pressure is very essential for efficient pumping of blood by heart. But when this exceeds the limit, there is a limit. I said systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. What is blood pressure? It is nothing but the pressure in the artery. Blood exerts force on the wall of the artery. It is called blood pressure. So what is blood pressure? The force exerted by blood on the wall of the artery is called blood pressure. And here how to measure? Doctors use an instrument called sphygmomanometer to measure the blood pressure. I talked about systolic pressure, means the pressure of blood in the artery during ventricular systole contraction is called systolic pressure, and the pressure of blood in the artery during ventricular diastole means relaxation is called diastolic pressure. What is the limit? Systolic pressure limit. It must be about 120 millimeter of mercury. So what is the unit of blood pressure? It is in terms of millimeter of mercury. So systolic pressure is about 120 millimeter of mercury in a healthy person, and diastolic pressure is 80 millimeter of mercury. So it is, what is blood pressure of a healthy normal adult? It is 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury. Then how do we say that a person has high blood pressure, low blood pressure, etc. If it exceeds this limit, 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury is the normal pressure. If it increases, then it is considered as high BP or hypertension. If it is very less than this, then it is low BP. So both are dangerous. That must be treated. So this I wanted to tell in the last class. Today I have given you information about blood pressure. Let us come back to transportation in plants. I was talking about transportation of water and minerals in plants. You have learnt in 9th standard that xylem vessels are responsible for the transport of water and minerals from roots in the upward direction. Here the water and minerals in the xylem moves only in one direction, from roots to the tip of the plant. So it is unidirectional. And how the water, water always flows from higher level to lower level, but here it is against gravitational pull. There are some physical processes help in pulling water from roots to the tip of the plants. One phenomenon the plants use already I have told you, root pressure. So when the concentration of ions vary, to balance this concentration, water from the soil enters into the root root xylem, and from the root xylem the water is pulled upwards through root pressure. To certain heights, root pressure is the simple physical process which helps in pulling water upwards. It forms a continuous column, creates a continuous column of water because xylem vessels of root, leaves and stem, xylem tracheids and xylem vessels are interconnected to form a continuous network or channels so that water is transported from roots to the tip of the plant using root pressure. To certain heights, this root pressure is used. I have discussed this in the last class. Suppose the plant height is very large, hundreds of meters tall plants are there. So what do the plants do? How the water is pulled upwards from roots to the tip of the plant. Here another strategy plants use. You have learnt in again 9th standard about transpiration. What is meant by transpiration? It is nothing but plants give out excess of water from their aerial surfaces in the form of water vapor. This process is called transpiration through the openings called stomata. During daytime, stomata are always open and water is evaporated in the form of vapor. This process is utilized by plants to pull water from roots to the tip here. How it is when water is evaporated through the plant surface, through stomata, what happens? This lost water is replaced by water from the xylem vessels of the leaves. This evaporation of water creates a suction so that water is pulled from roots to the tip of the plants. So that transpiration pull is used here. Evaporation of water during this transpiration creates a suction so that water is pulled upwards from roots to the tip of the plants. So transpiration is a very important process in plants which helps in absorption of water also and transportation, upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in it to the tip of the plants also possible through transpiration. So plants use these simple physical processes. Root pressure, especially during night, it is useful for plants to transport water, and during daytime transpiration helps in creating a pull to push water upwards from roots to the tip of the plants. Thus, plants absorb water and minerals through the soil, and roots, leaves, stem, all parts of the plant have xylem. Here the different types of cells in xylem you have learned. Xylem parenchyma, xylem vessels, xylem tracheids and xylem fibers. Here the conducting elements are xylem vessels and tracheids. They form a continuous, they join end to end. Tubular structures join end to end, forming a continuous channels and transport water from roots to the tip of the plant. So here in xylem, transport of water and minerals is in only one direction, that is in the upward direction. So which is the tissue for transportation of water and minerals in plants? It is xylem tissue. So that by simple diffusion, water and minerals enter the roots, and then due to transpiration and which creates suction, pulls water from roots to the tip of the plants. And here, note children, sorry, here it must be flowing, not xylem. Just while writing, correct it and write here, food from the leaves gets transferred to the phloem, because phloem is the food conducting tissue. So food conducting tissue in plants is phloem. You have learnt about that in 9th standard. Here a mistake is there. Correct it, phloem it is. Now, what is the food conducting tissue? Which is the food conducting tissue in plants? It is phloem. How it transports food from leaves where it is prepared to all parts of the plants. Even though food is prepared in leaves, it must be transported to different parts of the plants. So that how phloem transports food, and what do we call this process of transportation of food? In other words, the process of transportation of soluble products of photosynthesis from leaves to all parts of the plant is called translocation. Very important. Remember this definition. Translocation means the transport of photosynthetic products or soluble products of photosynthesis from leaves to all parts is called translocation. Here, how the food is transported. Here the conducting elements are, look at the structure of phloem. Conducting elements are sieve tubes. With that, there are companion cells. These together help in the transport of food. Here, unlike transport of water in xylem, here transport of food in phloem needs energy. So, by utilizing energy from ATP molecules, food is transported through phloem. How it is possible? What happens here? Phloem consists of sieve tubes and companion cells. Food from the leaves gets transferred to the phloem. So, say here phloem by the energy of ATP molecules. In 8th standard, you have learned what is ATP molecule means. Means mitochondria when produces energy, this energy produced is stored in the form of ATP. Whenever it is needed, this energy is utilized. Here for the transport of food in phloem, ATP molecule energy will be utilized. So sucrose or any, what will be transported in the form of food? Sucrose, amino acids and other substances are transported. Here, due to ATP molecule, utilization of ATP molecule, what happens? The food prepared in the leaves enter the phloem tissue by utilizing energy from ATP. Then what happens when the sucrose and the food enters into the phloem? Osmotic pressure in the tissue increases so that water enters into phloem, which helps in the transport or movement of food in phloem, so that to the low pressure areas food is transported. So from leaves to the storage organs of root, stem and leaves, fruits and seeds, roots, fruits and seeds, the food is transported utilizing energy from ATP. So now let us move on to, I hope you have understood now how is food transported in phloem. How is food transported? By utilizing energy from ATP molecules. So due to this utilization of ATP molecules, sucrose and other materials, soluble products of photosynthesis enters the phloem tissue by utilizing ATP energy. And during this what happens? The osmotic pressure in the phloem increases so that water enters into the phloem and pushes the food towards the low pressure areas. So this plants can utilize to transport food to whichever part it has to transport food, it can transport food to that particular part. So according to the needs of the plants, the food will be transported. So here, unlike xylem, transport of water and minerals in xylem, which involves only simple physical processes like root pressure and transpiration. But here, transport of food in plants involves energy from ATP molecules. So this is about transportation of water and food in plants. And now, can you differentiate between the transport of water and minerals in plants and transport of food in phloem? Water and minerals in xylem and food in phloem. What difference is there? As I told, in xylem, that movement of water and minerals is only in one direction. Only in one direction, only in upward direction from roots to the tip of the plants. But phloem, here food is transported in both the directions in phloem, both upward and downward directions. And one more difference is xylem conducts water and minerals, phloem tissue conducts food. And here transport of water in xylem involves simple physical processes like root pressure and transpiration pull, but transportation of food in phloem involves utilization of energy from ATP. So these are the differences. And transport of water and minerals in xylem is unidirectional. Only in upward direction. Transport of food in phloem is in two directions also, both in upward and downward directions. So these are the differences between transport of what materials, water and minerals in xylem and food in phloem. Now let us move on to another important life process that is very essential in all living organisms. The process is called excretion. What do you mean by excretion? You know, there are various metabolic activities taking place in our body, even in plants' body. During these metabolic functions of the body, many waste materials are produced. Already during respiration, carbon dioxide is a waste produced. Respiration is also a metabolic process. Carbon dioxide is a waste produced, so that must be removed. It will be removed through the lungs during respiration. The same way our skin produces sweat. It is also a metabolic waste which is removed. It is also the process of excretion only. And one more waste which is thrown out from our body, human beings, body of human beings, in the form of urine, which mainly contains urea, which is the nitrogenous waste in our body, urea. Major nitrogenous waste is in the form of urea, and excess of water and some salts, which we call urine, is excreted through a pair of kidneys in our body. Now, I hope you know what is excretion means. Means whatever nitrogenous waste produced or metabolic waste produced, they cannot be stored in the body. If they accumulate in the body, they become highly toxic to the body and it may become fatal to the body and the person may die also. So as and when they are produced in the body, they must be eliminated from the body. This process of removal of metabolic waste or nitrogenous waste from the body is called excretion. So, can you define the process now? Excretion is the process by which the waste products produced during metabolic activities is removed from the body. So, in unicellular organisms like amoeba, how this process takes place? Even though single cell is there, they also excrete the waste materials. How this process takes place there? By simple diffusion from the body surface to the surrounding water. Main nitrogenous waste is ammonia in amoeba. It is diffused out of the body. So by simple diffusion in unicellular organisms, this process takes place. But different organisms use different strategies for the removal of waste materials, metabolic waste materials. And in multicellular organisms, a particular organ system is there to remove the nitrogenous waste from the body. And in our body, we have a specialized organ called kidneys for the removal of nitrogenous waste. Now let us try to understand how excretion takes place in our body through these kidneys. So what is the structure of a kidney, structural and functional unit of kidney, and what is the structure of our excretory system. Let us try to understand. Look at this picture here. Where are the kidneys located? Our kidneys are located in the abdomen region. And one on either side of the backbone. So where are the kidneys situated? Very small reddish brown bean seed shaped. One pair of kidneys are present in the abdomen, one on either side of the backbone. Now, what do we call the structural and functional units of kidney? The kidneys remove the waste materials from the blood. For that purpose, how is our kidney designed? So each kidney consists of number of millions of filtering units called nephrons. So nephrons are the structural and functional units of kidneys. In the next slide, you will see the structure of a nephron. Before that, let us try to understand the structure of our excretory system. Location you have understood now. Now let us see the structure of our excretory system. It consists of a pair of kidneys, and each kidney leads to a long tubular structure called ureter. So a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters which lead to a muscular bag-like urinary bladder, and this urinary bladder opens out through the opening called urethra. Can you tell me now which are the parts of our excretory system? A pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, urinary bladder and urethra. So pair of kidneys lead to a long tube called ureters, and ureters open into urinary bladder where the urine collects, and through urethra the urinary bladder opens up. So these are the parts of our excretory system. Now let us try to understand the structure of nephron. Look at here, this is the structure of each kidney, and you can see nephron, individual nephron here. I told you each kidney consists of millions of filtering units called nephrons. So what is a nephron? A nephron is a structural and functional unit of our kidney or of a kidney. Now look at the structure of a nephron. How is the structure of nephron? Look at here. You can see a tuft of blood capillaries here, or the cluster of, you can see here also, there is a bunch or cluster of capillaries here, thin walled blood capillaries, which is called the glomerulus. So what is present in each nephron? There is a cluster of thin walled blood capillaries called, look at here, this is glomerulus, which is nothing but a cluster of blood capillaries which leads to a cup-shaped Bowman's capsule. So glomerulus leads to or open into the cup-shaped Bowman's capsule, and this Bowman's capsule lead to a long renal tubule. So the renal tubule now, you can see it has three parts. Look at this first part, it is called the proximal convoluted tubule, and look at this middle part, it is U-shaped Henle's loop, and the last part is the again called distal convoluted tubule, and this distal convoluted tubule opens into a collecting duct which opens into ureters, so that urine enters into ureters through this collecting duct. Now, how is urine produced in our body? So, what is the function of kidney? I said it filters the waste materials from the blood, so that when the blood enters into the glomerulus, here ultrafiltration takes place. Ultrafiltration in the sense all the essential and non-essential substances from the blood is filtered in the glomerulus. We call this ultrafiltration. Then this filtrate enters through the Bowman's capsule into first part of the renal tubule called proximal convoluted tubule. Here what happens? In the proximal convoluted tubule, the essential substances like glucose, amino acids, some salts and excess of water all will be selectively reabsorbed. What will happen here? All the essential substances, glucose, amino acids, salts and water are selectively reabsorbed and the filtrate comes through the amylase loop. It comes to the last part of the renal tubule called distal convoluted tubule. Here what happens? In this part, some salts, potassium and sodium salts are added to the filtrate, and the filtrate with these secreted salts added, potassium and sodium salts plus urea, the main nitrogenous waste urea and excess of water. Together, what we call urine enters into the collecting duct through distal convoluted tubule. Then from there, the collecting duct to the ureters, the urine is poured into the ureters, and from there through the ureters, the urine gets collected in the urinary bladder. As and when it is filled, it is thrown out through the opening called urethra. So we have an urge to control urine because it is under nervous control. But we cannot control it for a long time. If these nitrogenous wastes are stored for a long time, they become toxic to the body and we face many kidney problems. So this is how our kidney functions. And suppose if, what is the color of urine? You may be knowing the color of urine is slightly yellowish due to a coloring pigment called urochrome, and it is dry grass color, slightly yellowish in the sense dry grass color, so that urine is excreted through a pair of kidneys, which because of this kidneys regulate water and salt balance in our body also. Not only removing nitrogenous waste in the form of urine, it also regulates water and salt concentration in the body. So kidneys are also called osmoregulators. Suppose if our kidneys cannot function properly, means if they cannot filter the waste materials. In case of kidney failure, there are many reasons for that. Maybe because of infections or poisons or injury, our kidney may fail to filter the waste materials. In such cases, patients are given artificial kidney treatment. You might have heard of a treatment called dialysis. Here, an artificial kidney is used. It filters the waste materials. Here, this artificial kidney consists of series of tubes which are in the dialyzing fluid, so that from the patient's blood, nitrogenous wastes are taken to this dialyzing fluid, and when this is removed to the dialyzing fluid, the pure filtered blood will be transferred to the patient's blood. So this is very painful treatment, children, so that dialysis is given to the patients who have kidney failure. So let us learn more. You will learn more about this dialysis treatment, how it is given in your higher class. This much you remember. In case of kidney failure, an artificial kidney is utilized, means dialysis treatment is given and waste materials are filtered from the patient's blood. So now the lesson I have completed. Complete the notes, and this lesson is there for first FA1. In the next class, let us discuss the next lesson, control and coordination. Then bye.